See, I'm not one for particular racial group identification at all. I don't give a fuck about that, because if you actually took time to read any of my books, you would see how transcendent I actually am and what space I'm operating from. But if you also took time to read the most recent book, The Best Kept Secret, you would understand that none of that shit actually matters. And when I say that the quality of an individual's conduct is a direct reflection of the conductor itself, the conductor being the individual soul that inhabits the transient body, then maybe you would understand where I'm operating from. Why your world is yours. It takes a certain degree of intelligence to even get on frequency with people like myself, right? But let's talk about it. Hazards, right? If all these people who happen to have racial affinities or ethnic affinities or social group affinities, right, and didn't really recognize the power of the individual, all these people had all of these gripes with society, these different groups and blah, blah, oppression, then wouldn't it be a little bit wise to look at oneself and see how much of a national security issue they are for themselves? I look at all these individuals who claim maybe white supremacy, black nationalism, all of this shit, right? And I see them as individuals who are breaches into their own national security. If you really cared about your group of people, if you really cared about, let's get past the racial ethnic shit. If you really cared about your family, let's just talk about your nuclear family, your mom, your dad, your sisters, your brothers, your cousins, your most immediate relatives on this planet as far as incarnation is concerned, right? Let's talk about them. If you really cared about these people, then wouldn't you be like top tier, secure, perimeter, lock down everything, make sure your conduct is at the highest degree of possible quality so that there are no breaches and no gaps and no holes and no leaks in your constitution? You out here self-poisoning. You out here liability to self, compromising self, a self-compromising individual, a self-compromising individual, a self-compromising individual. So if you compromise you, and you are a hazard to you, and you are a liability to your personal security, right? Poisoning yourself, not taking care of yourself, not even living up to the responsibilities of your daily existence. What does that mean? Just being valuable. If you're not even useful to yourself, if you're not effectively useful for yourself, what do you mean I'm not useful for Yo, if your life is not being improved or is not at a high quality on its own by itself based on your personal conduct, then you're not really useful to you. So how useful can you really be to anybody else? If you're a hazard for yourself, you're definitely a hazard for other people. If you're useless for yourself, you're definitely useless to other people. If you're a liability to yourself, then you're definitely a liability to other people. If you're a poor experience for yourself, then you're definitely a poor experience for other people. Right? But let's skip all the other people now. Let's get that out. Because if you really cared about other people, you wouldn't be such a hazard to yourself, and you wouldn't be such a liability to yourself, and you wouldn't be such a poor conducting individual in a fucking breach of security for yourself, right? You wouldn't be such a liability to your own personal security and your own personal well-being. But that's not the case, right? So Sheikhy Chic says, hey, look at yourself, look at your habits, look at whether or not you're even taking care of yourself well enough, right? So in the Advancing Individual, you look at chapter 12, Advancing Desire, and it talks about all these different impulses, instincts, and passions as senators, and that you as the soul are the executive, the emperor of the kingdom and the faculties, and it is up to you to veto or to accept certain activities. Some lower part of yourself is going to slide something under the door or put something on your desk. You should lay down today. Fuck that. Veto. That's bad for the state. You know what I'm saying? Something's going to put something on your desk today to say, hey, let's make weed and drinking and all alcohol. Let's do that today. Veto. That's going to operate and cause the state to be compromised. You have to understand yourself as a state, right? So if you're an enemy to your own self, right, to your own state, now let's take that word state and elevate it and break it down in a new context. A state of consciousness, state of well-being, state of happiness, state of joy, state of positive experience in existence, right? If you're an enemy to your own personal positive state of existence, right, and you cause yourself negative friction, negative existence, then what the fuck can you be for anybody else? Everybody who's worried about money, because y'all like, well, he told me to be sober, but I'm still broke. Well, he told me to be in shape, still broke. Yeah, you're still fucking broke. You know what I'm saying? Because you still fail to recognize that money is a byproduct of being valuable to other people. So if you're not even sober, if you're not even fit, if you're not even enlightened, then don't even try to think about money, because really all the things that are 100% in your personal control, you don't even have on lock at the highest level. YWI, your world is yours. Before I even decided to really make money, I decided to create a valuable asset of an individual. I decided to no longer be a breach of national security for myself, an enemy of myself. Most of y'all are y'all worst enemies, and y'all consistently blame the world for all of your poor maladjustments to existence. The universe is a winner. The universe is a winning universe. Eternal winning. It doesn't stop winning. It created you, produced you, and gave you the ability to get in alignment with the game or fall by the wayside and get rubbed out. You feel me? Why your world is yours. It gets to a point where I almost feel like I'm talking to a mass of stupid individuals, you know, and it's fucked up. But at the same time, like, as my mind elevates, I can no longer have sympathy or pity for fools who are fools and who are content to be fools. You feel me? The stupidest thing in the world is, or the greatest sign of poor intelligence, is to know what to be and then to choose not to be it, right? So you know there's something more to be. You know there's something to be done, and you know there's something to become at a higher level, yet you choose to remain at a lower level. You've never seen a tree simply just stop growing. Say, oh, I'm not gonna grow today. You've never seen any organism, any life form decide to just stop evolving. So what do you mean take a day off? Take a day off for what? From what? To do what? To be what? Day off. Take time off of becoming greater to opt in for what? To become and operate as less? For what purpose? To what avail? Why your world is yours. A lot of people ain't thinking, you feel me? If you really gave a fuck about whatever racial group, whatever social group, whatever bullshit ass identity you really think you give a fuck about, then really you wouldn't be a liability to these people. You wouldn't be a breach of security for these people. You wouldn't be a hazard to these people. But then if you really gave a fuck about yourself, you wouldn't be a liability to yourself. You wouldn't be a breach of personal security to yourself. You wouldn't be a hazard to yourself, would you? Right. So obviously you don't give a fuck about shit besides seeming like an individual who gives a fuck, because we know when we obviously know you don't give a fuck, you should be fucking ashamed of yourself. Yeah, why your world is yours. Y'all act like shame doesn't exist, but that's the reason y'all lie. Y'all lie to avoid social perception and shame and shit like that. You feel me? Because at the end of the day, either you truly want to be a better person and know the value of that and actually a good person at heart and soul, or you're just another piece of shit who covers themselves up with the desire, the apparent desire, who appears as somebody who wants to be a better person, but is very insincere towards the responsibilities and duties that are demanded to actually be that better person, right? Because in the end, once we recognize that, oh, this is an insincere piece of shit who's only concerned with their own self-interest and their selfish indulgences and really doesn't want to be responsible, useful, or applicable towards the bettering of their own existence or anybody else's existence, and they're insisting on being a hazard to themselves, therefore being a hazard to others, and they're insisting on being useless, now we have to write you off exactly as that. And when we do that, there's shame involved, right? Nobody wants to be that. Now you have to walk with your head knowing that you're a piece of shit. So y'all rather act like y'all want to be greater people, but when it's time to step the fuck up, who's going to rise to be that? Somebody said to me, oh, people don't want to hear it. I don't give a fuck what people want to hear. I don't give a fuck whether or not you do want to hear it or not. Who wants to live this shit? That's what I'm in it for. You know what I'm saying? So why your world is yours, we're really living everything we're speaking. Sober, fit, enlightened, getting rich. You know what I'm saying? Especially sober, fit, enlightened. That's what the first step of the program is for. The self-mastery program is so that you can actually step up and master yourself, right? Because anybody who's not sober is not a master. Anybody who is not fit is not a master. Anybody who's not enlightened is not a master. It's just what it is. So then when you want to talk about making money, now you have to involve yourself with people, and you're just another piece of shit, a low-level piece of shit. So really, you're just operating from that selfish self-interest that I just mentioned, right? Yeah, we're on to all the bullshit. Whatever you are, your world is yours. Consider the vibrations raised. Are you a hazard to yourself? Are you a liability to yourself? Are you useless to yourself? If you're on your own team and your own dead weight to your own self, then how the fuck can you not be dead weight for everybody else? You know what I'm saying? Whatever you are, your world is yours. You can't even wake up in the morning, use a bitch. You can't even hit the gym in the day, use a bitch. You can't even mitigate your food, use a bitch. It's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? You can't put the drugs down and the substances down, use a bitch. It's just what it is. You have no control over yourself. You're a slave to whatever circumstance you apparently can't overcome. Whatever you are, your world is yours. Some of us have fully mastered ourselves, and the goal here is to help you master yourself. That is, if you are sincerely willing to become an individual master of self, because you know the intrinsic value of that, and not simply the appearance or the esteem or all that other shit. Written in the first book, The Advancing Individual, Advancing Motivation, Intrinsic versus Extrinsic. I wrote 5 books in a year. What the fuck have you given society? I've made so many videos in a year, right? Never missed on none of these videos all year. What have you given society? I've given 444 posts every day since the first day I started, never miss. What the fuck have you done and given for society? Besides a missing, lazy, sloppy, individual, selfish bitch who's a liability to self and others, who's a hazard to self and others, who when they pull up, their quality of life by themselves in a corner in a room fucking sucks, so they're a poor experience for themselves, but God knows what happens when they pull up to other individuals and they lower the quality of other people's existence as simply being present as a piece of shit. This is just how life works, you know what I'm saying? Whatever you are, your world is yours. If this makes you feel a way, it's because you know it's fucking right. And you know that you're still resisting and insisting on inferior conduct. Consider the vibrations raised. Superior conduct is the only answer. Watch all of these mark-ass suckers who give themselves justification for being less at any given moment. I ain't never give myself a justification for being less. Whenever somebody called me out on my bullshit and it was actually coming from a viable source, then I just simply adhere to this shit. You right. Yeah, I'm being a bitch. Yeah, you right. I was wrong. You know what I'm saying? And I just grow. I don't wait for any time to, this is another chapter in the book. I don't wait for a time to look for a way out. I don't want a way out of growth. I want a way in. And that's what the real people do. They don't justify being wrong at any given turn or, yeah, I'll justify being less for any given reason. No, I don't want to fucking do that. Why the fuck would I want to justify being less? In fact, the same justification for being less is the same justification to become more. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you are, your world is yours. The Advancing Way, Chapter 3, first book. I'm telling y'all, at this point, y'all look even worse. The fact that I'm giving so much from my soul and so much resources that you're not even ill-equipped at this point. You're not even ill-resourced. You just don't have the fucking willpower, you bitch-ass motherfuckers. And we down on them, you know what I'm saying? Whatever you are, your world is yours. Shouts out to the team. Listen, we in this shit for eternity. It's really a matter of, people say it's a spiritual war. Not a spiritual war. It's just who's willing to be a valuable offering to the entirety of existence. And who's not willing to be a valuable offering, who is always consistently looking to seek and gain and take without giving anything of themselves. Whatever you are, your world is yours. Consider the vibrations fucking raised.